A march against hate puts us on the right foot.
A forum of intolerance brings residents together.
Rhinebeck Parent-Teacher Student Association gets ready for a spring fair.
School taxes, a topic coming to LMC-TV.
Trump may run ashore on David's Island.
A 9-year-old helps some furry friends. All these stories and more on this edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
Welcome to this edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Alyssha Miro.
And I'm Sven. Our top story.
Larchmont and Mamaroneck have united in the fight against intolerance. Tuesday, February 27th, residents joined in a march beginning at St. John's Episcopal Church at Fountain Square in Larchmont, stopping at Larchmont Temple, St. Augustine's Church, Beth Emeth Synagogue, and Larchmont Avenue Church on their way to a community forum at Mamaroneck High School, led by Mamaroneck Village Mayor Joseph Lanza. County executives, state representatives, police, clergy, local officials, and most importantly, people from the community gathered together in the MHS auditorium and spoke about the recent anti-Semitic incidents in our area and what to do about our future. We now turn to some footage of this inspiring event, care of a collaborative effort between Mamaroneck High School students and LMC-TV.
The solidarity against such symbols of hate has been demonstrated over the past week and a half. Truly evidences a united front against such crimes that are hurtful to both people and property. The villages of Mamaroneck, Larchmont, and the town of Mamaroneck are communities of great diversity, regardless of whether that diversity is religious, ethnic, or socioeconomic. We pride ourselves on our diversity and want to make sure that we retain that diversity. Tonight, again, I welcome everybody here. Unfortunately, the circumstances are not the best, but we will make the best out of it.
We did have 2 homes that were desecrated. All indications from the investigation show us right now that it appears that it's the same individual that did these 2 homes that did the other 5 homes. I just want to say that everything that can possibly be done from a law enforcement perspective is being done right now. Mamaroneck Village Police Department is getting a tremendous amount of support from the District Attorney, from the District Attorney's Office, from the FBI, all neighboring communities, and many, many agencies are coming forth to this community to help us solve this case. I just want to assure you that no stone will be left unturned until we find this individual.
One of the most unforgettable moments that I will have as director of the Westchester Jewish Conference is walking with the members of the Larchmont and Mamaroneck community to this event this evening. I think more than 1,000 people from Larchmont walked to school. It's probably the first time that many of our students ever walked to school. It was very gratifying to see the large number of young people with us this evening. This is an event that certainly spans the generations.
In Larchmont, Mamaroneck, we have a long, well-established history of interfaith cooperation that goes back generations. That's not going to be stopped by the acts that have taken place this week. And that tradition is among its clergy and its citizens. And our message has been conveyed tonight by our actions, where people came from all the corners of this community, Larchmont and Mamaroneck, to join together here to all stand up and be counted. And like Nita, I could not be prouder to have the opportunity to lead you at this moment. Together we responded as a community, as one family, gathered together publicly, and that's what's important, all religions and races together to celebrate that diversity, because that's what Larchmont Mamaroneck is all about.
Despicable actions like this are very traumatic because we are generally, at least my experience living here 27 years, is that we are a very friendly, a rather sleepy village, and these kind of acts shatter that belief that we have had for so many years. I think our actions here tonight, though, by the massive outpouring, is demonstration reinforcing the goodwill that we all feel in having selected or having been born in this wonderful community that is multiracial, multi-religious, multi-ethnic, and many of us chose this community for those very reasons.
Before Anne Frank perished during the Holocaust and World War II, she wrote in her diary that he who has courage and faith will never perish in misery. Now, yesterday, when we were supporting the District Attorney's Initiative for a Hate Crimes Unit, Donna Cohen from the Holocaust Commission reminded us that Hitler started with 7 men. So it doesn't take a lot to turn this around. And we have to stand firm and honor that quote from Anne Frank and honor that courage and spirit and fight this so that we are the victors.
As a result of this, yesterday, I asked the County Board of Legislators, as well as County Executive O'Rourke, to consider giving us some resources to deal with this kind of crime. It's not enough to react to crime after it happens. We need to be proactive. We need to infiltrate. We need to have intelligence so that we can prevent this kind of activity as opposed to simply making an arrest after it happens. And I ask for your help to call your county legislator, to call the county executive, so that we can start a program to deal with these kinds of horrific crimes in our county. And let me say that we still in law enforcement do not have the ability to properly prosecute these cases. The laws are far behind the times. There are those who argue that free speech is protected. This is not about free speech. This is not about childish pranks. This is about hate and bias that leads to violence and retaliation.
Tonight, as leaders of the faith communities in this Mamaroneck, Larchmont area, we put aside our differences to stand shoulder and shoulder with our Jewish colleagues and the members of their synagogues. But more so, we stand here tonight to say that this despicable and ignorant crime is an act that hurts people of all faiths. We are proud of you tonight as a community for coming out and standing shoulder to shoulder for this purpose. We must turn these words tonight into action over the next few months in dialogue among our faith communities and our various diverse ethnic groups in this area. No matter black or white or Hispanic, Christian, Jew, or Muslim, we must all stand together and pledge to work even harder to rid our community of bigotry and hatred. We declare tonight that we can make a difference.
The forum was broadcast live on LMC-TV's Channel 14 and was even highlighted on Fox 5, NBC, ABC, and CBS television stations in New York. The drive behind this community outpouring was the recent vandalism in the Orienta section of Mamaroneck. 7 houses were spray-painted with hate symbols and messages, and Larchmont Library's reading table was desecrated with a swastika. Larchmont is offering a $2,000 reward, Mamaroneck Village $5,000, plus another $5,000 reward from an anonymous donor for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the responsible party. Police Chief of Mamaroneck Village, Ed Flynn, announced that police are doing everything in their power to solve this case. Investigations by local police and the FBI will hopefully lead to the criminal. Throughout the evening, many people had us focus on ourselves and the way we think and treat others. With the institution of a task force to fight intolerance, our community has chosen to understand one another and look to education as the key to stopping this behavior in our hearts and in our homes.
In the next report, Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Sharon Levy tells us about the Mamaroneck High School students who joined the community in the March Against Hate Crimes.
Students from both the high school and from the Haviland Middle School took part in the community march against bigotry. The march was in response to the anti-Semitic incidences in the area. The incident most recent at the time of the march were the 5 houses on Mamaronek's village-oriented point that were defaced with graffiti. Spray painted on the houses were words that said things such as, "Kill Howard Stern and kill all Jews." Last month, anti-Semitic graffiti was found on athletic fields at Rye High School, and menorahs were damaged in Pleasantville and Scarsdale. The vandalism has encouraged Westchester County to show their anger and frustration towards vandalism. The school superintendent, Sherry King, said that some swastikas had been found at the Haviland Middle School just before the midwinter break. Sherry King also said that middle and high school students are thinking about what can be done to create a community that is tolerant and welcoming to everyone. Classes at Mamaroneck High School discussed how every member of the community is affected by the vandalism.
The recent incidents in Mamaroneck Village have renewed the calls from politicians, religious organizations, and concerned citizens to toughen the law. Under the current law in New York State, spray-painted messages or symbols are only seen as graffiti regardless of the content. There are few exceptions, such as spray painting on a house of worship. It's likely that the current calls for tightening the law by putting stiff penalties on hate graffiti will succeed in introducing new legislation to fight these crimes at the state level. One such bill, which was introduced before the latest incidents in Mamaroneck, is currently blocked in the state Senate. It ran into opposition because of a provision in the bill which protects gays and lesbians.
Donald Trump's David's Island proposal may come to a standstill. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Kathryn Caywood has details in her report.
Donald Trump's latest plans for David's Island have been developed by Thomas Balsley Associates of Manhattan. At the landing of David's Island, when residents get off the ferry, they would walk into the waiting room of a 6,000 square foot, 2-story building, which would house maintenance and management on its upper floor, and which could also house a small grocery store. The waiting room could also function as a party room. The inner circle of homes would surround a village green. Trump has not yet decided whether to build a marina, but each waterfront home would have its own private dock. Lot sizes are from 1 to 2 acres. Balsley says that the removal of any tree on David's Island would be subject to the review of an architectural committee, and that residents would be encouraged to plant greenery that is native to the area. Balsley also offers a picture of the townhouses at the Fort Slocum dock. The 12 townhouses would be 3 stories high, with 1-story units on top of the 2-story units. Each unit would have at least 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 750 square feet of living space, and a 2-car garage. For privacy, there would be evergreens, shrubs, and flowering trees, as well as a guard booth just off of Harbor Lane. Only residents and their guests will be permitted on the property. But if Con Ed's access rights to part of the Slocum dock and to David's Island are not resolved by March 9th, Trump may pull out of the deal entirely. As we have said earlier, Con Ed owns part of the Slocum dock area. On David's Island, Con Ed wants Trump to realign the road, but this would mean losing 4 to 10 of the 47 building lots. Also, Con Ed has an underground cable that skirts David's Island and brings power from upstate New York to Long Island. We'll keep you posted. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Kathryn Caywood.
The MTA has submitted a report to Governor Pataki in which it addresses the shortcomings of Metro-North Railroad during the blizzard this January. The railroad admits that mistakes were made in preparing for the storm and in coping with the wintry weather. Metro-North will rewrite its emergency plan. It'll buy 129 more diesel trains and 10 additional snow blowers, and the railroad will improve the way it notifies its customers about scheduling changes. Diesel trains proved to be more reliable during the storm because they do not use the third rail. Many of the trains that have to pick up power from the third rail were disabled because the so-called shoe, which has to be in constant contact with the third rail, lost this contact because of the ice and snow. The electric-powered trains will be outfitted with a redesigned shoe, which should improve the performance of those trains during severe winter conditions. Alyssha?
Well, I certainly hope those improvements work, just in case we have a bad winter next year.
Well, hopefully we don't.
I know. Well, Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community School News reporter Ed Stein talked to Eugene Levy, president of Larchmont-Mamaroneck Taxpayers Association, about a special program on LMC-TV, which will be broadcast on March 8th.
Well, we have a program coming up which is a very informative program relative to the control of school spending that's been initiated by George Pataki, the new governor of the state of New York.
Now this special that's going to be on LMC-TV, it's going to be, when are you going to put that together?
It'll be next week on March 8th at 8 p.m. on either channel 14 or 15.
And I understand you're going to have a guest here.
Yes, we're having as a guest Peter Murphy, who's the communications director for the budget department of the state of New York. He works directly for Pat Woodworth, the budget director.
All right, and he's coming down here, and you're going to be questioning him about some new legislation, right?
The legislation in question is being pushed very strongly by George Pataki, and what the legislation does is put certain restrictions on school property taxes.
Mm-hmm. Could you give us a sneak preview of what that legislation,
okay.
One of the hardest hitting points, for example?
I think the hardest hitting point is the fact that the new legislation will limit the school budget between one year and the next to the rate of inflation in the New York area. In addition to that, it will also limit at the same time the property tax rate increase relative to the rate of inflation between 1 year and the next.
So what's that mean specifically? If the rate of inflation is, say,
let's assume the rate of inflation is close to the national inflation of 2.5%, the way it's measured now.
Right.
That means that the tax rate that people will pay from year to year will not be higher than the 2.5% unless there's a 60-40 majority that says yes. And as you know, in the Mamaroneck area, there's not any chance of that happening.
So there's really putting a cap on taxes for schools. It's going to be well defined, is what you're saying.
That's correct, and it's up to each individual to watch the program and determine what they have to do to participate in this change in law. Namely, it's to contact their legislatures in the Assembly, which is Ron Tochi, and Susan Oppenheimer in the Senate, to ensure that they vote the right way. And the right way is to keep the taxes down.
Well, we'll look forward to your program and the reruns on it again on March 8th at 8 o'clock, and you'll be interviewing Peter Murphy.
Correct. Thanks very much, Ed.
Thank you.
Just a reminder, you can request programs that you'd like to see and that you missed on Request TV. And at the end of our program, we'll tell you what telephone number you should call if there's a program you'd like to watch again. Larchmont-Mamaroneck Community News spoke with Town Councilman Barry Webran about last week's Town Council meeting at which adult entertainment establishments in our area were discussed.
We passed a 6-month moratorium which would prohibit the opening of any adult entertainment establishments in the town for at least for the next 6 months, and during that time we're going to work to pass a law that would restrict the areas in the town where in theory adult entertainment establishments could be opened. In fact, I really don't think there's anywhere in the town where we'd like to see them, but we're going to study the issue and pass appropriate zoning legislation.
Can they be completely restricted, or?
Well, no. As long as it's a legal establishment, I mean, you can't pass a law saying you can't have one anywhere in our town. And there've been a lot of litigation and constitutional issues, and as you know, long-running protests against establishments in some of our neighboring communities. But I think we're going to try to pass a law that would at least prevent them from opening in areas where we think they'd be inappropriate.
Did you ever receive an application lately for?
We haven't received an application. There was some talk about the possibility of someone, but again, those were just rumors. I mean, the real reason we're doing this is just because we think it's a prudent thing to do. You have to be proactive and out front on these things and be prepared. A number of our neighboring communities have are also considering similar legislation to restrict possible locations for such establishments.
Another form of entertainment, and probably a more, or at least widely more accepted form of entertainment, is what's going on at the Roller Dome. Yes. And I guess that contract is up for renewal?
Yeah, well, actually, we had approved it last year as a one-year experiment with the understanding that it was successful. We would consider a longer contract, and we now are going to consider our next meeting. We actually talked about it at the last meeting, and we're looking for public input, and we're going to consider our next meeting a contract to extend the program for 4 years. And as you know, the Homix ice rink is open as an ice rink 8 months a year, and so the idea is during the summer months to make use of the facility. And Roller Dome runs a rollerblading program there. They have leagues and public sessions. Under this contract, they're going to install air conditioning, which would allow the public sessions to be more widely popular, and the facility will also be available for town programs in mornings.
3 car owners on Raleigh Road in Mamaroneck Village had a bad surprise one morning last week when they noticed that the airbags had been stolen out of their cars overnight. The driver of one car was also missing a cellular telephone. 2 of the cars were 1994 Toyota Corollas. Thefts of airbags have increased lately as replacement airbags are very expensive. A black market for the devices does exist.
In our next segment, Larchmont Mamaroneck community news reporter Kathryn Caywood talks to a 9-year-old girl who helps stray animals.
Emily, you're 9 years old and you're already president of your own company. Can you tell us a little about Paws Incorporated?
Sure. We help the dogs at the New Rochelle Pound by either donating bones to keep them busy, or we just donate like little bags of food that we can get from like pet shops and stuff like that.
How do you get the money for these?
Well, there's 2 different ways. We do it like I'm doing now. I was in the newspaper a few days ago, and I got a lot of response from that. And I also walk around on the playground of my school, and people give me like quarters and stuff, and it all adds up to a lot.
If our viewers want to contribute to Paws, can you give us the phone number they can reach you at?
Yeah, that's going to be on after, and there's going to be a showing of my number.
Okay. Now, you don't just give them bones, do you?
I bring in like garbage bags full of food samplings, and I give them turkeys, because they make soup for the dogs in the winter when it's cold, because it keeps them hot and stuff, because they have cold kennels. But they seem to like the soup, so we've been concentrating on that throughout the winter pretty much.
Okay. And if people would like your number, could you tell us your phone number?
Yes, 833-0312.
Well, I hope this interview will get you more donations for Paws Incorporated, Emily. Thank you for coming tonight.
Last year, Metro North commuters were hit with an increase in the price they have to pay for their commutation ticket. Last week, those who use Westchester B-Line buses faced an increase. And it will not be a surprise that the next group to be hit are the motorists. The Metropolitan Transportation Authority will increase tolls for bridges and tunnels on March 24th. Most tolls will go up by 50 cents to $3.50.
Well, on the Henry Hudson Parkway, tolls will go up to $1.75 each way. Discount tokens will also be sold in the future. And there is a change coming to many toll plazas. Equipment for Easy Pass is being installed. Once you've signed up with Easy Pass, you can drive right through the toll plaza at a reduced speed without having to stop. The toll is automatically charged to your account. Applications for the program can be obtained at most any toll plaza directly from the attendants.
Next on our program, Larchmont Mamaroneck Community School News reporter Ed Stein talks to Lisa Grant about the Rhine-Neck Parent-Teacher-Student Association Spring Fair, which is coming up very soon.
Saturday, March 16th, we're holding it at the Rhine-Neck Middle School High School campus. It's going to be from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Wow. And I understand that there are big plans afoot. There's a theme. What is the...
The theme is Rhine-Neck is in a New York state of mind. It's going to be celebrating all the great things about New York State. And we've had the children involved in contests and studies involving New York State, and they're going to bring all that information and posters and things to help decorate the high school so that it's going to look like a New York wonderland.
So this is a fundraiser for Rhine-Neck.
It's a fundraiser, but we also like to call it a fundraiser because in addition to raising money for the school, there's over 40 games that the children can play and win prizes at. And it's a great afternoon to encourage school spirit. And we want to invite not just the Rhine-Neck community to come down, but everybody to come down, especially to see our renovated campus. And I think it's going to be a really fun day for everybody in the community.
And this is going to be for people of all ages. You're going to have something for senior citizens?
Right. Something new that we're having this year is a senior citizen resource room. And although it's designed for the Gold Card members of our community, we're inviting everybody to take part in it. We're going to have some health professionals. Someone from St. Agnes Hospital will be down doing blood pressure screening. We'll have a podiatrist there, Dr. Charles Morelli. And then we'll have two people, someone from the Westchester Office of Aging will come down and speak on issues that address our seniors, and someone from the Village of Mamaroneck as well.
And then for the other end, you've got for the kids?
Oh, we've got the 40 games that we've mentioned. We've got entertainment. We're going to be introducing a new comic book character called Rana 7. We have country line dancing. We have librarians coming to tell stories. We have a caricaturist who can do your caricature. We have some of our own performers from Belos coming to perform. And we have millions of things for everyone to do. For other members of our community, we have a silent auction room.
Oh, the silent auction. That's something you had once before, but you're bringing back.
Right. We haven't had that for about 7 years. And this year we're particularly excited because we have over 200 items to share with the community. And 50 of those items were donated by the teachers themselves through our elementary, middle, and high school. So we're really, really glad and appreciative of that.
This Thursday, election watchers will focus on New York State's Republican primary. Last week's results, after primaries in the Dakotas and Arizona, showed Steve Forbes in the lead with more delegates secured for the Republican convention in San Diego later this year than his opponents. Forbes scored another victory when a federal appeals court in New York City confirmed a lower court's decision that Steve Forbes' name has to appear on the ballot in all the 31 congressional districts in New York State. The Republican candidates are competing for 93 delegates in this Thursday's primary.
And that's it for this week's edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. You can watch the news show Monday through Saturday at about 12 noon and also at about 7 in the evening.
And on some nights, the show also comes on between 11 and midnight, or you can request it on LMC's Request TV. Just call Studio 2 at 381-0131. After 3 p.m., you can call the Palmer Avenue studio at 698-6808 and request that the news show be put on the air, especially for you. It may just be a couple of minutes.
All of us who work on this program are volunteers, and we always have room for new people who'd like to join us. It's a fun way to get involved in community affairs, and in addition, you can learn about television news.
Every Thursday night, we meet at about 7 p.m. and work on this news program, taping the various segments that make up the final show that you watch later. If you're more interested in the technical aspects, it might be a good idea to come on a Friday afternoon when the news show is edited. You'll find us in LMC's Palmer Avenue studio, which is in the Mamaroneck High School building, right up the stairs from Walter's Hot Dog Stand on Palmer Avenue.
Also, if you have a story or some video which you think we might like to use on this program, come by on a Thursday night and we'll most likely use your story. Or if you have any comments, suggestions, or some criticism but can't come on a Thursday night, you can also send us a letter. The address: Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, care of LMC-TV, 1 Library Lane, Mamaroneck, New York, 10543. Thanks for sharing your time with us watching Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. And I'm Sven Oehme.
And I'm Alyssha Miro. Join us again next week on this channel, Channel 14.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. For the next several minutes, we're going to take a closer look at the candidates who will be running in the election for our villages, both Larchmont and Mamaroneck. To start the program off, we have the incumbent mayor of Larchmont, Cheryl Louie, who's running unopposed for her third term. Cheryl, since you are running unopposed, I guess let's talk a little bit more about what does the mayor of Larchmont do? What's an average day for you?
An average day involves spending several hours in Village Hall. Larchmont has no village administrator or manager, so I serve that role and coordinate amongst the 5 or 6 departments that we have. And so I work with staff, the constituency, the residents, take care of whatever problems come up by day, and then generally by night have a meeting that involves the volunteer sector of our community that also keeps the village running.
And then you have another life as a homemaker and wife and mother in Larchmont.
Yes.
In the village of Larchmont, the position of mayor and trustees, as opposed to in Mamaroneck, those are voluntary, unpaid positions. No stipends.
No stipends of any kind. It's the way it's always been, and we've never looked to change that.
And there's never been any pressure to people like it that way?
Well, I don't think that the question has been asked in a long time.
But I mean the fact that it is so time-consuming and you do spend an awful lot of time involved in...
I think that the job changed slightly under Miriam Kernan, my predecessor, who was mayor for 8 years, and I've now been here for 4. I think what we've seen in the last 12 years is a shift in the way government operates. It's become more complex. The environmental regulations are tougher. Union negotiations are harder. There's been an enormous push to consolidate or economize or downscale or share services. And I think although every administration has its issues of the time, and I don't diminish what my predecessors have done, I think that has caused what was formerly a part-time job, so it was no burden on anybody to go off, go to work for the day, come into Village Hall for an hour, has changed a little bit.
Okay. What are some of the big things happening in Larchmont? Well, let's even maybe go over the last 2 terms. What have you feel you've accomplished as mayor, and what do you still hope to accomplish?
I think some of the things that we've done in the last 2 years include some infrastructure changes, such as renovating our tennis courts, our paddle courts, rebuilding the library. We've kept up our streets and out the things that affect residents in that way. We've instituted a lot of zoning changes. We've created a waterfront zone, a fast food ordinance, outdoor dining, things of that nature. Actually, Roger, if you were to take every facet of our government, whether it was recreation or zoning or day-to-day operations, we've made some change. It's been a particularly active government.
Some of the more visible ones, too, like the parking meters at the train station.
That's relatively new, yes. And we'll see the entire parking lot renovated come the summer.
Okay, final question before we leave. What do you see as the biggest challenge in the years ahead for you as mayor?
I think the largest one will be dealing with the mandate to address the sewer overflow, inflow, and infiltration into the New Rochelle Sewer District. That's a large one. We need to attend to our village yard and our village hall. We also want to, let me just take a look at my list here. Need to look at how we collect our garbage, our team program. We have to negotiate our TCI cable contract. The technology issue is just flying. And I think in terms of technology, there is already a strong effort to work with the other 2 municipalities in the school district. That's something we need to address as a group. And then finally, well, I guess that was my final point, but we've gone on with a lot of things.
Good enough. Well, I guess there isn't much point in saying good luck in the election, but congratulations on, I guess, already winning. By the time this airs, the election will be a few days away, but we should remind everyone, March 19th, and the polls in Larchmont will be open from
6 a.m. to 9 p.m. At either the Village Center behind the library or at Chatsworth Avenue School.
Great. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
On March 19th, it's also Election Day in the village of Mamaroneck. 3 trustees will be elected on March 19th. One of those who hopes to be a new trustee in the village of Mamaroneck is Stephen Goldstein, who's with us now. Stephen, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been in Mamaroneck, and why do you want to be a trustee?
Well, I've been in Mamaroneck most of my life. I grew up here, went to Mamaroneck High School, was active in the community back then, and moved away for college and work, and then came back and became active again. And the reason I'm involved now running for trustee is because I see many things happening to our village that concern me.
Specifically?
Well, there's a concerted lack of planning. You take the Harbor Island project, for example. It's not just mistakes. It's complete and utter planning. There were things, huge chunks left out of it. There were things ignored. They knew, for example, before they even started, that the fields would continue to pond. There was no way to fix it. That's my understanding, was that the project was done to cure this problem. Why would you spend $2.5 million knowing that the ponding would continue? They went ahead with the project. They left things out of the project. They made huge mistakes during the project. Fire trucks couldn't turn around. The boat ramp couldn't, the trailers couldn't get to the ramp. They left the grass for the geese. They didn't handle the goose problem until, most of the project was done. And that was even handled poorly.
As a trustee in the village of Mamaroneck, what would you set as your top priority?
Bringing the budget into line, bringing taxes into line. We're probably looking at a 12% increase or more this year. Our borrowing has gone through the roof. That's got to be brought into line as well. No more borrowing.
What about the fact that on the village board there are all Republicans and have been for some time? Do you feel it's very necessary for the fact that a Democrat should be on the village board?
Oh, absolutely. I think any time there's one party controlling anything, where there's no voice of dissent, regardless of what kind of area it is, you're not going to get the best plans, you're not going to get the best management you can. You always need somebody to play devil's advocate, if you will.
At this village level, though, as a party label, is it really that big a difference, a Republican or a Democrat?
I would hope not, and I try to tell people, don't look at me as a Democrat, don't look at them as Republicans. Quite honestly, we're the exact opposite of what a Democrat and a Republican are at the national level. Or I wouldn't say opposite, because I can't say I'm like the Republicans at the national level. But it's more important that you vote for the person and what they stand for and what they're trying to do and what experience they have and knowledge and expertise, rather than worry about what party label they're under.
Okay, well, good luck in the March 19th election. Stephen Goldstein running as a Democrat in the Mamaroneck Village election on March 19th.
Thank you.
We now continue our special election edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News and our Mamaroneck Village segment with an incumbent trustee, Martha Sokol-McCarty, who's running as a Republican and also on the Conservative Party line, too.
Correct.
Martha, in the years that you've been a trustee, what do you feel you've accomplished?
Well, it's been a very busy 2 years. There are a couple of things I'm very proud of. Working with the Mamaroneck Avenue Task Force has been great. I felt that we've really made a big change on the avenue. Obviously, there's still more to go, but we did 7-day garbage pickup. We did the bicycle cops, which I think everyone agrees is wonderful. And just last month, I guess in February, after about 6 months to 9 months of studying it, We passed some fast food legislation limiting the kinds of fast food places, delis that we could have on the avenue. I've also worked very hard with a local development corporation, MAC, which is also the Mamaroneck Affordable Condominium Corporation. And we're that's the regatta. But we're also doing a very small project, which I'm pleased to say is underway, or will be very soon. It's going to be going before the zoning board next week. And one of the houses is going to go to one of our longtime police officers, and the other house is going to go to either a village resident or volunteer. There'll be a lottery, so I want everyone to make sure they stay tuned. The Harbor Commission, we've done a lot of things. We're in the middle of reworking Chapter 210. We got two pump-out stations now, which should make our harbor significantly cleaner. So there are a lot of things that have gone on that I'm really proud of.
And to continue on as a trustee, what do you want to see yet happen that you will work for?
Well, I want to see the regatta being dug. I want to be there with the shovel. I want to finish 210. I want to really continue our long-range planning that we've been doing. We need to work on taxes, keeping them under control, economic development, especially for the avenue. Right now, the avenue is looking very good. There are very few empty stores. And I think directly as a result of the fast food legislation, we've had non-food stores come in, which I think people have really noticed and commented on. So there's a lot of long-range planning that we've been going on in the village, trying to continue the quality of life, and that's what I'd like to keep working on.
Before we close, for those perhaps newcomers who may be to the village, may not know too much about you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I live on West Street in Mamaroneck. I've lived here for 14 years. I have 3 children who are over there because their dad's out of town. A lawyer. I graduated from Cornell University and Albany Law School, and I just think Mamaroneck Village is a great place. I've been very happy living here.
Well, good luck in the March 19th election, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Martha Sokol-McCarty, running as a Republican incumbent trustee for the Village of Mamaroneck. Continuing now with our special election edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News with another incumbent trustee for the Village of Mamaroneck. Virginia Neumeister running as a Republican, also on the conservative ticket. And Virginia, what does a trustee in the Village of Mamaroneck do? What's the normal week? What would be some of your activities?
Well, a normal week is very busy. That's just a normal week. You'd start off on Sunday preparing for a Board of Trustees meeting, which may occur on Monday night. If there are any special public hearings attached to that meeting, you would prepare for those as well. At a public hearing, you just listen to what the public has to say, and then you may comment afterward. So you would go through the agenda for the board meeting. You would participate in that on Monday. Tuesday night could be another meeting. My schedule is Wednesday night I would have, Tuesday night I might have Budget Committee. Wednesday night I would have Coastal Zone Management Commission. Thursday night I might be with you on LMC-TV. Friday night would be maybe a night I might get to spend with my family, but chances are I will be meeting with a resident or a group of residents.
So it's a pretty demanding job, and the village does give a stipend of $5,000 a year to village trustees, but it's a very time-consuming position, isn't it?
I'd say I put in anywhere from 80 to 100 hours a month, easy.
Right. Now, looking back on as your tenure as a trustee, what do you feel you've accomplished?
Well, one of the things that I felt very good about was being able to bring the Thruway Authority and the Baldwin Place residents together.
To make it a quieter place.
Well, to make it a quieter place, a better place. Incidentally, the fact of the matter is that I, 4 years ago, was saying trees and wood attenuation fences, which is a type of design that has the air in between, was the type of fence that was going to work to absorb the noise and lessen it, in addition to the asphalt overlay. Well, now the things that I've been saying are actually coming true, because the concrete barriers that they have insisted upon or used really have become terrible. The sound bounces from one barrier off one side into the neighborhoods on the other side of whatever side of the thruway you happen to be on, listening to that. When we were going up to top of the ridge a couple of weeks ago, while we were campaigning, it sounded like Niagara Falls in the gorge. And I spoke to, by the way, I got redrafted into the thruway situation, and am actively pursuing the noise attenuation process. One of the residents from Highview Street called me, and she is of the same mind, and she's trying to get that going. And I was delighted to get back and spoke to the thruway today.
Are you also the point person on the trustee on the board for the Canada geese? Or?
Canada geese.
Yeah.
The non-point source pollution baffles the grant applications, coastal zone management, the Maritime Commission. I've got a list.
Okay, now with all that you've done and been involved in, what about looking ahead for the next couple of years as a trustee if you are reelected?
Well, Roger, an overview of Mamaroneck Village is what we're looking at. We started looking at it 4 years ago when we talked about how we might want to plan from border to border, from Fenimore Road, the industrial area, right through onto Rye and down the post road to Larchmont border, what vision we would have of how we wanted Mamaroneck to look. And the first thing you do is to bring people together to the table to talk about what they would like and to get them focused on what they may need. And that's what the task force has been doing. Todd's been doing that with the Industrial Revitalization Task Force in the industrial area. And I've been liaison to, as Coastal Zone and Maritime Commission, you're trying to look at the whole picture. Beautification Committee, adopt the planters and add that little bit. And that, people say that that's not important, to just make something look pretty. Well, the planters, the flowers, the Adopt a Tree program, all of those have a psychological effect on people when they come in and see flowers on the avenue.
Sure.
And while the rest of it is being addressed, hey, this looks so pretty, maybe I don't want to drop my litter here.
Final question, just tell us a little bit about yourself personally, how long you've been in the village and family, etc.
Well, I was born in the village. Well, not in the village. I was born in a hospital, but yes, I'm a lifelong resident of Mamaroneck Village. I remember playing at Harbor Island and swimming in the beach, at the beach when I was a child, and it was a wonderful place. I went to school, grammar school here. I went to high school in Rye, and then on to the city. I'm a paralegal. I'm president of the board of directors of a co-op corporation here in Mamaroneck. I have 2 grandchildren. My children are grown and married. My husband and I live on Old Post Road. It's very nice when your children decide to leave, get married, and I have 2 wonderful grandchildren.
All right. Well, good luck in the March 19th election in the village of Mamaroneck as a trustee and incumbent running for re-election.
Thanks, Roger.
Virginia Newmeister running on the Republican ticket in Mamaroneck Village. Continuing with our special election edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, we now move back over to the village of Larchmont, where we have an incumbent trustee, Judy O'Gorman, running as a Democrat and on the independent line as well, and running for her 3rd term as a trustee in the village of Larchmont. Judy, what has it been like? What have you accomplished or feel you've accomplished in your years as a trustee in Larchmont?
Well, there are some major things that we have accomplished as a board. The new street signage, for instance. But in terms of personal accomplishments, the things that have been most significant to me are those changes in the village code that are meaningful to our residents.
For instance?
For instance, we had some village plumbing code that was far more restrictive than New York State, and therefore people had substantially higher costs on different types of plumbing repairs, and I mean significantly different. So I've worked on going through the building code and revising it to meet current standards, and New York State standards are very stringent, and pull out some of the things that were good law when they were made, but no longer are as relevant and make things much more costly. And we also had like a sewer pipe code that are the size that we required is no longer in manufacture. Yeah, so it's, hey, the rest of the world is getting along. So that type of thing that really does affect mostly people's costs, that I was personally responsible for and particularly proud of.
Okay, now, looking ahead to perhaps a new term as a trustee, another term, what would you like to accomplish?
Well, right now we're in the middle of quite a few significant studies. We're having a study done of our police department and a study done of our fire department. And our public safety is the largest part by far of our budget, most of the village expense. And we have come to the point where we have felt we have to really evaluate these and see what changes we can make. I mean, actually, I should go back and say, in my first few years, the board that I was a member of, we spent a lot of time very carefully going through our entire budget and really having accountability for, we got to where it was like every pencil and every piece of paper. And we got that budget down about as tight as we could get it in the context of doing business as the village had always done. And I think going into the next century, we're going to have to look at things and establish a baseline of what is the basic service that we need and decide what the most perfect service would be, and then what is palatable cost-wise in between. Some of this was generated as a response to the Westchester 2000 report, which definitely recommended the elimination of a lot of village functions. I don't think our residents want that, but I do feel that we have to be accountable to them to say, this is what we're delivering, this is what it's costing you, these are some modifications we can make, this is what it would cost, or if you don't feel that we need it anymore and you'd rather be merged, this is what the cost would be. Okay. So this is what we have started to work on, and I think is a significant thing to finish and bring to fruition.
Okay, for those in the audience who may not know too much about you and perhaps are newcomers to Larchmont, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, how do you mean?
Well, how long have you lived in the village?
I've lived in Larchmont for 14 years. I have one son who is now out of the school system he graduated from NYU Film School last year, and he went to Chatsworth, the Hummocks, and the high school. I work in public relations, public affairs, publications, basically, as a consultant, but I feel that more of the reality of it is sort of contract work. I have clients that I do specific functions for.
Okay. Well, good luck in the March 19th election, running as a Democrat for an incumbent in the village of Larchmont for trustee.
Thank you very much, Roger.
Judy O'Gorman. And we continue again with another trustee from the village of Larchmont, an incumbent, who is actually running unopposed. So is not all that concerned about running for re-election, but still is part of the process and to fill a one-year term of Ava Birdsell, who resigned from the village board in Larchmont. And Marianne Moma, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Roger, I've lived in Larchmont for 33 years. I have never really been involved in politics before, but I've been heavily involved in the community, served on boards and president of different women's organizations, and I love volunteer work.
What's been the most exciting, interesting aspect of serving on the village board in Larchmont?
Well, I've only been on the board about 6 weeks. Right now I'm enjoying the ringing the doorbells, going from door to door, meeting people and talking to people and hearing their concerns.
What are their concerns?
Well, the concern right now is the very big story in Larchmont, and that is whoever's doing the defacing of our buildings. So there are a lot of comments about the wonderful march we had, or the entire community had, and the meeting at the high school. That seems to be the most talked about thing right now.
What do you see among, not that there's any one single solution, but how do you view that aspect of what's happening? What do you think might be able to be done?
Oh, I don't know. I wish I had the answer. I wish I had the answer. Education, certainly.
More police?
Probably more, but we didn't have that problem before, and we had the same size police force. So I think it's probably education.
Okay.
I think maybe we'll know more once we find out who did it.
You've got a full year ahead of you as a trustee on the village board. What would you like to see done?
There's a project that I'm really excited about, and the idea was not mine. It came out of the budget committee, and that's to have neighborhood meetings, kind of like focus groups, as they do in the advertising business, to see exactly what people want to, what services are most important to them, what they're willing to give up, if they're willing to give up. And that's so that we can keep the taxes down. And I think the reason I'm so excited about this is because this is the kind of thing I've done for a living. I've been a facilitator of groups. And I look forward to doing it in the village.
Okay, so you see that's something that you can really get going without too much.
I'm trying to get going on that.
Okay, very good. Anything else about yourself or whatever that you'd like the people of Larchmont to know about?
Just that I love Larchmont. And my husband retired 6 years ago. We had bought a home down south to move to, and the time came and I couldn't go. I couldn't leave Larchmont. So we sold the house down south and sold the big house up here and moved into the Pine Ridge condominiums, and we love it.
So would you like to, in the next election, run for another term, do you think?
It's a little early to say, but the way I feel right now, today, I would say yes.
Very good. Well, I'll wish you congratulations ahead of time as winning your incumbent position on the village board. Thanks for being with us on Larchmont Mariner Community News.
Thanks, Roger.
Can we have a... Continuing with our special election edition of Larchmont Mariner Community News, and our final candidate from Larchmont, running as a Republican and also on the Village Independent Party, is Richard Ward. And Dick, I wonder if you could tell us, is this your first time running for political office?
It's my first time running for public office, Roger.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'd be glad to. I'm got a background in technical analysis, financial analysis, environmental analysis. I evaluate projects in my profession, big capital projects. That background's relevant to the board as it tackles projects such as the sewer rebuild and clearing the Lorenzen Field. I've also been active as a volunteer in the community.
Mm-hmm. Why do you want to be a trustee?
Well, I'd like to be a trustee because I feel I can lend my expertise and my experience in the environmental area, in the safety area, and in the area of keeping costs down and providing better management reporting and cost control in the village.
What are some of the things that you say are seen being done now that you feel you could make a difference?
Well, I think the area of management reporting stands out as an area that needs improvement.
Specifically?
I'd like to see the village board get better monthly reports that compare actual expenditures against budget and give the board the ease in controlling those expenses.
Okay. Do you feel party politics has that big a role at the village level?
I really think at the local level you're talking about who's best qualified to be on the board, what mix of skills you have there, what variety of experience exists so that you've got the best possible group of people tackling the challenges that face the village.
Okay. Anything else about yourself that you care the voters to know about?
I'm an active member of the community. I'm involved through the Coastal Zone Management Commission in trying to keep our water environment clean and keep things from being put in the streams that feed into the Long Island Sound. I'm a member of the board of Save the Sound, which is a regional body with a similar mission. I've been active in trying to improve safety conditions around Chatsworth School.
Okay. Well, good luck in the March 19th election in the village of Larchmont.
Thank you, Roger.
Richard Ward running as an village independent and Republican for trustee in the village of Larchmont. In case you've just joined us, this is a special election edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, giving you a closer look at the candidates who are running for election or re-election in the March 19th village elections in Larchmont and Mamaroneck. With us at the moment, Todd Noble, running for his 5th term as an incumbent and a Republican in the village of Mamaroneck for a trustee position on the village board. Todd, it's been, well, quite a few years. What do you feel have been your main accomplishments while you've been a trustee?
The most recent ones, of course, we're finished with Harbor Island Park, except for some testing. We've started the industrial district revitalization. We're setting up a committee on that. We hope to develop the goals and the plan for it. That's been this year. I've been, of course, involved with various neighborhood groups and any of the problems that they may. We go right into the neighborhoods with people, sit down with them at their meetings and discuss some of their problems and solve them.
Mm-hmm. And as you run as a trustee for another term, what have you not accomplished that you would hope to do so in your next term?
Well, one of the things I'd like to do is to, of course, as I said before, finish or I stated that we were involved setting up the industrial revitalization, but that area that's going to take quite a bit of time. It's going to take probably 1.5 to 2 years to really get on the road. So that's what I'd like to dedicate the majority of my time over this next term doing.
Okay, for those who may not know too much about you, perhaps they're new to the village of Mamaroneck, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been, if I'm successful, it will be my 5th term. I'm completing my 4th term right now. I've been on the planning board for a year. I've been 6 years on the Board of Architectural Review. At the conclusion of this term, I'll have 14 years of experience in working either on an elected office or on boards and commissions.
As a trustee, is that a pretty time-consuming position?
It has grown to be a great deal of more time than it ever started out to be. We put in certainly in excess of, I would say, 20 hours a week. And that's mild. When we, of course, have a budget review period, that becomes quite extensive. That may even extend beyond that.
If you would see as one single goal that you would like to accomplish in the next term, what would that be? I know you touched on some matters earlier, but...
Well, one single goal, I guess, would be to bring that industrial project, the industrial area, the redevelopment of that, into a conclusion. I'm going to try, but I'm not, it just, all the cards don't always fall your way.
Has there been a lot of opposition to the moratorium on auto body shops and repair shops in that area?
No, as a matter of fact, I have received word from people who have been in the auto body business that they thought that perhaps that's a good idea, that it should be the illegals people that are running auto body business should be cleaned up. One of the things that was noted at one of our meetings was the fact that people that are involved with the automotive repair or auto body repair have not observed some of the environmental restrictions that have been put on legal ones, in that they would dump automotive waste in the storm sewers and so on. And that's got to stop. We're going to correct that.
Right. Well, good luck in the March 19th election, and we'll see how things develop.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for being with us on Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. Todd Noble, running as a Republican incumbent and conservative in the village of Mamaroneck for the Village Board of Trustees. We have yet another candidate to introduce to you on this special election edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, Gloriana Palencia, who is running as a Democrat and village independent for trustee in the village of Mamaroneck. Gloriana, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I am a professional person working in a business in Manhattan, and I negotiate and contract for advertising clients.
And how long have you lived in Mamaroneck?
It will be 7 years this year.
Okay. Why do you want to be trustee in the village?
I am a person who thinks independently, and one of the things that I've been finding out is there seems to be quite a bit of mismanagement decisions in the village, and I feel that it is time that the village is brought back to the people, and I would like to be part of the solution.
You mentioned mismanagement. What, for instance, is?
Well, one of the duties of a trustee is to manage the village properties and finances. And I feel from the fiasco of Harbor Island Park, the fact that the village, the avenue, Mamaroneck Avenue, is not a safe and pleasant place to walk in, are areas that should be kept up and are not being looked at in the full way that they should be. The village money has been mismanaged in the sense that our debt has increased from a total debt of $9 million to over $16 million in just 4 years, that our insurance is not looked at correctly, that we have a responsibility to the people to keep taxes at a reasonable rate. And the current board will not release the budget, so we don't know what the interest, the taxes will be raised. And it is believed on pretty good knowledge that it will be in double-digit raisins. And the budget will come out the day after the elections, which is too late for people to voice their opinion and say, look, guys, I've had enough. So it's those kinds of things that we need to take back into our hands. I'm running because I really believe in the people, and I think it's time that the people say something, and I would like to be held accountable. I will be held accountable. I will be responsible to the people, and that's the kind of people that we need.
Is this your first attempt at running for public office?
It sure is.
How's the experience been for you so far?
It's been delightful. It has been so much fun. I cannot believe it. Politics is something that if somebody said, Gloriana, I want you to run, I would have laughed in their face. And I'm not a political person. I don't want to be. But there have been so many problems that have been flashed in front of my face, and I just couldn't sit back. I couldn't say no when I was asked, will you run? I looked at the people and said, I have to. I can't say no. You know, I was brought up by my grandparents and my parents. There's a problem, solve it. And there's solutions to every problem, is my belief.
So you feel you can make a difference?
I can definitely make a difference.
All right. Well, good luck. March 19th in the village election in the village of Mamaroneck. Running for trustee on the Democrat and Village Independent Party ticket, it's Gloriana Palencia. Gloriana, good luck and thanks for being with us on Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
Thank you, Roger.
And our final candidate in this close-up look at the candidates for the March 19th election in the villages of Larchmont and Mamaroneck is, well, I guess you might say an old-timer to the village of Mamaroneck, a former trustee who has returned to make another try for trustee position. Archie Giannunzio, running as a Democrat and independent, Village Independent Party. We might get into that and explain what that is all about. But with us now, the final candidate that will be speaking with this evening, Archie Giannunzio. Archie, you were a trustee in the village, what years?
4 years from 82 until 86.
And you took a breather for, well, that's 10 years.
10 years.
Why are you coming back to get back on the village board?
Well, I had a couple kids grow up during the 10 years. In fact, my son's getting married a couple days before the election. And now I have some extra time. The kids are older. And the reason I ran 10 years ago was to put some financial responsibility into the village. And I think the village is in probably as bad, if not worse shape today. So I've decided to come back and offer my services from a financial standpoint and hopefully get the taxes back on track to keep them below the rate of inflation instead of where they are.
Do you have some special expertise in that area?
Well, I've been in business my whole career, almost 30 years, in management, doing profit and loss responsibility. I've been in purchasing and operations management, so I'm qualified to run a company, and villages like a company, only nonprofit. And plus, I was a trustee for 4 years. I've also been on the school budget committee, the town budget committee. I'm presently on the town and also on the village budget committee, and I was past chairman. So I've worked with several different budgets and know my way through them.
What do you see, were you indeed elected to the village board, what would you see as the key thing that you would have to get straightened out?
Well, I think we need some policies and procedures, because that's the basics that affect everything. If you don't have certain rules in place, everything you do is just wrong. It's like the equation in math. If you start with a poor equation, every answer is wrong. So I really believe we have to start looking at projects before we decide what we're going to do as to their full cause and effect. Then we have to have systems and procedures to manage the project through, and then systems and procedures to review them after they're done to see did they attain what we wanted them to and what can we learn for the future. I personally would not have done the harbor project for $2.5 million because I don't think there's cost benefit to it for the taxpayers, for the merchants, for the industrial people, for anybody. We spent $2.5 million for grass, increased our debt to $16 million, and basically nobody's going to get any benefit from it. We had 3 ball fields before and we have 3 ball fields now. So that's what I mean. There has to be a way of looking at projects before you do them to see what their benefit is going to be ahead of time, not afterwards say, geez, we shouldn't have done that.
Okay, another aspect of this election which a lot of people are not too familiar with, they'll see when they go into the polling booth, Village Independent Party slate. What's that about?
Well, basically you're allowed 2 lines on the ballot. We have the Democratic line, and we also have an independent line. People get confused that there's an independent party. Technically, there isn't an independent. When you're an independent, you're just not registered with a major party, Democrat, Republican. So what we have to do to have an independent line, because I am an independent, we have to create it for this election only. And then it dies at the end of the election. And it's created for each election, but that's so that we can still run on an independent line.
Okay, well, Archie Giannunzio, thanks for being with us on this special election edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, and good luck in the upcoming election. The polls, I understand, are open from 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. Is
That's
that your
correct,
understanding?
on Tuesday the 19th, and I'd just like to ask people to get out and vote. The turnout's been low, and for all the candidates, it's a plus if we know that we've stimulated interest and we can get up to a higher percentage of voters.
Great. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Remember, March 19th, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. in both villages, Larchmont and Mamaroneck. It's your village board, they're your village trustees, and it's your responsibility as a citizen. Thanks for being with us on this special election edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norum. The battle continues against anti-Semitic vandalism.
The FBI enters the case.
Larchmont house fire forces families to flee.
Mamaroneck fires may get showered with the new sprinkler law.
Oriana Marina expansion plans get a no vote from neighbors.
It's back to David's Island as Donald wants to duck out of development.
Plus, we'll have some features and a look at what's ahead at the Emlyn Theater for the Performing Arts. All on Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. Hello and welcome to our first springtime edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norum.
And I'm Alyssha Miro. Our top story. Another rash of swastikas appeared in Larchmont only 2 days after the Community Forum on Intolerance was held in Mamaroneck High School on February 27th. The wall of the French-American school was spray painted and 6 cars were smashed along with graffiti scratched into them in Larchmont's village yard. These crimes are an all too clear reminder not to let the energy kicked up from the Community Forum to go to waste. Our schools have put programs in place to bring students together to understand each other's culture, and the local clergy are joining to fight the hate represented in these crimes. Our community's determination can be symbolized by a new logo of a dove's wings made up of the words, "Many faiths, one community." The rewards are up to $25,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of anyone related to the case. Joining together for one night was just the first step, and it appears we still have a long stairway ahead of us.
The recent spree of anti-Semitic vandalism that plagued Larchmont and Mamaroneck has prompted law enforcement agencies to shift into higher gears. According to the Daily Times, besides the New York State Police and local law enforcement, the FBI has entered the picture, as well as the county district attorney and neighboring police departments.
A sister city is in the making, only as a result of bigotry. To explain, here's Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Sharon Levy.
Mamaroneck and Larchmont's March of Unity against the anti-Semitism has put the towns and villages in the spotlight nationally. The march brought to the community strength and understanding on many diverse levels. This march clearly stated that this community is denouncing all hate groups. Billings, a town in Montana, united against bigotry in 1994 when a cinder block shattered Tammy Schinder's window during Hanukkah 2 years ago. This town in Montana fought back by filling the windows with menorahs. Even though there were only 48 Jewish families in Billings, thousands of menorahs were displayed in windows throughout the city. Tammy Schinder's response, according to the Daily Times, to the way Mamaroneck and Larchmont handled the hate crimes was, quote, "I just want to say bravo to the community." This month, Schinder will be in New York City to receive an award to Billings from from Mayor Rudolph Giuliani for a billing's emphasis on inclusiveness, whether it be Jews, African Americans, American Indians, or gays and lesbians. Tammy Schinder also said that this is a human rights issue. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Sharon Levy.
The people who live in Orienta near Nichols Boatyard have gone on record in opposition to some plans for Nichols to add some amenities. The story from Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Sven Oehme.
Nichols Boatyard in Mamaroneck Village on Rushmore Avenue has plans to expand, adding a clubhouse and a swimming pool. Local residents in this part of the Orienta section fear an increase in traffic on two-lane Rushmore Avenue. But the major concern of local Orienta residents is safety on our roads. Residents warn that drivers may hit local roads after drinking alcoholic beverages at the clubhouse. Nichols has said that it's important to make the additions now to stay competitive. Local residents are not totally opposed to the plan of the boatyard, but think that a solution should also address their concerns. A decision by the village board is expected later this month.
If you had gotten used to using the northbound ramp on the I-95 exit 17 in Larchmont, get unused to it real quick. It's now closed and will remain closed for the next 2 years. It's all part of a $31 million Thruway Authority renovation and reconstruction project of the I-95 in the area. The reconstruction includes a new road surface, another row of sound barriers, and additional parking places at the lot next to the Metro North Railroad station. By the way, the new road surface being put in is supposed to last 50 years. I wonder how long the potholes that occur will last. Another major inconvenience for Larchmont residents, the Chatsworth Avenue Bridge will be repaired as part of the reconstruction and will be reduced to 1 lane each way during the first year of repair.
Quite a bit of so-called affordable housing is being built in our area. To get an update, here's Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Joe Haviland.
Ask any realtor the key to buying a new home, and chances are they'll answer location, location, location. These days, though, for many middle-class families looking to locate in Mamaroneck or anywhere else in Westchester, money, money, and more money is the key. Ask Polly Draper, who grew up in Mamaroneck and whose parents moved away from the village 5 years ago. She, her husband, and son are currently living in a rented house in Brooklyn's Prospect Park section with hopes of one day returning to Mamaroneck. But the high cost of owning a home in the village has left them locked out. While real estate values have soared, part of the blame for the Drapers being priced out of Westchester is a result of school and village taxes having increased about 20% over the past 5 years. That's higher than the inflation increase. That means for the owner of a $160,000 home, the village average, the combined village school tax burden is $7,000. It's a burden that families like the Drapers can't afford, and for those families that do own a home in Westchester, one study shows that 25,000 of them spend more than half their income on rent. For now, families like the Drapers can only dream of one day living in Mamaroneck and other places in Westchester. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community TV News, this is Joe Haviland reporting.
11 people were left homeless in Larchmont after a fire tore through a 3-story house on Woodland Avenue near the Larchmont train station on March 8th. No injuries were reported except for the 3 pet ferrets that were killed in the blaze. The 3 apartments contained in the house, owned by Dolly Gorson, were badly damaged. After investigation by the Westchester County Cause and Origin team, it was determined that an electric space heater in the first-floor bedroom was the cause of the inferno. The fire began at 3 p.m. and sent one apartment resident running to the street and kept many commuters and residents backed up in the traffic as entrances to the train station were blocked with fire trucks and police cars. Clouds of smoke and flames subsided, and the American Red Cross was on hand to offer temporary housing, food, and clothing.
A new and improved sprinkler law proposed for Mamaroneck Village. For more on the story, here's Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Sven Oehme.
Mamaroneck Village may adopt a local law which would make sprinkler systems mandatory for certain new buildings and even some old ones. Under the proposal, motels, adult daytime care centers, commercial buildings, and also residential houses with 3 or more units would have to install such a sprinkler system. Older buildings will be affected if they if a certain percentage of the total square footage is being renovated. The proposed law is stricter than the state's requirements. It is similar to regulations that were adopted in New Rochelle. The proposed law still needs some fine-tuning, and because it's stricter than state law, it will also have to be approved by the state's Office of Fire Prevention and Control.
You may have noticed recent stories in the Daily Times newspaper about a Mamaroneck town commuter who refused to pay a $10 parking ticket because he didn't have the proper permit. And he wrote a 6-page treatise explaining reasons he should be allowed to get off the hook. Mamaroneck Town Judge Martin King didn't go for it, and Stanley Futterman was ordered to pay the fine or go to trial Monday. Stanley Futterman paid up, even though he still believes what he wrote in his 6-page plea, that he actually contributed to the public good by his lawlessness. He argues that he contributes to the gross domestic product by getting on the train every weekday, doing some work, and adding to the public treasury by feeding his coins in the meter, even though he parked without having a permit. The judge told Futterman to take the matter up with the town council or village board if he wants to pursue the matter. Stanley Futterman says he'll pass. Alyssha?
A Holocaust museum trip. With a report, here's Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Sharon Levy.
Rabbi Jeff Serkman, a Jewish leader from Larchmont Temple, and Reverend William Powell, an African-American leader from the Straight Gate Church in Mamaroneck, planned a trip to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington for the church's and temple's youth groups. This trip was planned months ago before the communities were plagued by a rash of anti-Semitic graffiti. According to the local Times, Rabbi Serkman said, quote, "With the compelling story of the black church in America and the experience of the black community in general, there's a natural connection to the Jewish community." During the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend, the church and synagogue held joint services. On April 16th, Holocaust Memorial Day, both institutions will take part in a seminar on anti-Semitism. Future plans include a visit to Straight Gate Church by Rita Greenbaum, a Holocaust survivor and Larchmont Temple congregant. Reverend Powell said that the relationship goes beyond speeches and symbolism, and that it will have a lasting impact. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Sharon Levy.
A train derailment near Woodlawn caused some Metro-North commuters to have a bad start of the week on Monday, March 11th. Mamaroneck Community News reporter Sven Oehme tells us what happened.
Monday, a week ago, many commuters on the New Haven and Harlem lines woke up to the news that no trains were going into the city because of a derailment of 2 freight cars in the Bronx. 2 cars were part of a 104-car train operated by Conrail. The derailment took place at 5:15 a.m. By 6:29 a.m., the cars were back on the rails, and Metro-North was able to resume regular service. According to the railroad, about 10,000 people were affected by the accident. Many of those customers had to take the subway into the city from train stations in the Bronx. And here's a follow-up to a story which we covered last year. If you commute on Metro-North Railroad, you will still remember that the railroad was faced with job action by its employees last November. All in all, 17 unions were involved, and 13 of them have received approval of the tentative agreements and have signed those. And those have since been signed by the MTA. The 3 unions that have not yet reached an agreement are American Railway Supervisors Association and the Hotel and Restaurant Employees and Bartenders International Union. The 3rd union is the Brotherhood of Railroad Signalmen, which rejected the first tentative agreement. Negotiations for a second agreement are currently underway.
Well, it looks like Trump's Island is going back to the name of David's Island, with the Donald looking to duck out of the deal to purchase the land off of New Rochelle. More on the story from Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Kathryn Caywood.
Last summer, Donald Trump was planning to build 2,000 apartments on David's Island, but this plan changed into 47 mansions for David's Island and 12 townhouses at the Fort Slocum dock. Recently, when news got out that David's Island is classified as a low-level hazardous waste site, Trump dropped his plans to buy the island. In 1990, the Army Corps of Engineering had found some 55-gallon drums, a couple of transformers, and an underground gasoline tank, but found no evidence of leaks. However, Trump feels that having David's Island labeled as a hazardous waste site would create huge marketing difficulties. And then there's the fact that Con Ed owns 10% of the island and has power lines beneath it. Trump wanted his $500,000 back, but the city of New Rochelle views this money as a non-refundable payment. The latest news is that Trump has offered to revive his offer to develop David's Island if New Rochelle would reduce the selling price and give him some more tax breaks. Trump's original plan included 2,000 apartments, a heliport, and a water taxi, but no bridge. Trump implied that he might still be interested in the deal if he could purchase David's Island for $10 million, but New Rochelle Mayor Timmy Doney is not interested unless it is the agreed-upon figure of almost $13 million. We'll keep you posted. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Kathryn Caywood.
The Mamaroneck village clerk and sometimes acting village manager has a surprise party coming up. But it's no surprise. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News spoke with village trustee Martha Sokol-McCarty.
It's not going to be a surprise party anymore once we talk about it. So can you tell us a little bit about it?
Okay, it was a surprise party for our clerk treasurer, Lenny Verastro. It's a thank you party, and we decided we do have a lot of people attending, but we figured why not get more people? There's some people maybe who hadn't heard about it. We were trying to put it out very quietly. The reason we want to thank him is not only is Lenny going into his 16th year of service for us, that on 2 occasions, most notably last year, he served as our clerk treasurer and our village manager. He didn't get paid extra for it. Obviously, it was long, long hours. It's not like he's in work. We can promise him a big bonus at the end of the year. And we're calling this our Thank You Lenny party.
Where and when is the party going to be?
It's next Thursday, and I'm going to read this so I don't get it wrong. Next Thursday, March 21st at Mamaroneck Beach and Yacht Club from 6:30 to 9:30. It's $42.50 a person, and that does include cocktails and a buffet dinner. And you can write checks to the Thanks Lenny party, or you can send it to Village Hall, or you can just go to Village Hall and talk to Judy Caputi, our deputy clerk treasurer is handling it, or even our former chief Del Bianco. And maybe you could put the numbers up later so people know where to call.
But you have to register in advance, or for the event?
I think we would prefer, just so we could get a better head count to give to Beach and Yacht. But listen, everyone is invited, and I have to say that Lenny not only works for the village, but he's president of Lions Club. I know he's affiliated with the Don Bosco Center in Portchester. He really does a lot for our village. So we want everyone to come and say thank you.
It sounds like a great idea.
Okay.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, Sven.
The Daily Times splashed one of its front pages last week with the headline, Author, Primary, Secret Safe with Agent. Seems the agent they're talking about is literary agent Kathy Robbins, who graduated from Mamaroneck High School, class of '63. And primary refers to Primary Colors, one of the hottest bestsellers of the year about the 1992 Clinton presidential campaign. And the author of Primary Colors, the well-known and loved Anonymous. Guessing who Anonymous is has been one of the favorite party guessing games of the winter season. But as the Daily Times says, local woman Kathy Robbins knows who wrote best-selling book, but don't bother asking. And the Random House publishers say only one other person knows who Anonymous is, a lawyer. Alyssha? You're not a lawyer, are you?
That's pretty interesting. I'm not a lawyer.
Actually, there's one other person who knows who wrote it to the person who wrote it.
That's true, so there's 3 people. Well, the first weeks of springtime offer an exciting lineup of events and performances at the Emlyn Theater of the Performing Arts. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Jamie Stein spoke with the director of the Emlyn, David Watson.
We have all kinds of things at the Emlyn. The next week coming up, On Saturday the 23rd, we have a terrific kids show, David Jack, a children's musician who's backed by popular demand. He completely sold out last year, so if people want to be sure to get in, they should buy those tickets soon.
Magic, bunnies.
Magic, all kinds of things. And on Sunday, we have a neat thing we do. It's called food films. These are films that have a food theme to them. On Sunday the 24th, it's My Dinner with Andre, and then there's a special meal at the Good Life Cafe afterwards. You can enjoy the food that was in the movie.
So what kind of food is this going to be, or it's a surprise?
It's a surprise. I'm not gonna give it away, but you can make reservations with the Good Life Cafe and with the theater and have, you know, a Sunday afternoon movie at 4, go out and have a nice dinner and get ready for the week.
For all ages?
Well, for adults, that one is.
What else?
What else? What else?
Through the 22nd.
Well, I just see one of our patrons coming out here, and they've been buying tickets for Ghost Cafe, which is our Andre DeShields musical, the star of The Wiz on Broadway, doing Louis Armstrong and an actress doing Bessie Smith, a really wonderful jazz musical theatrical experience.
So if you are a jazz person like me, you will not want to miss. We had talked about the acrobats.
Well, the Peking Acrobats, who were sold out here also last time, are coming through again, and they're doing 2 performances in the school vacation week on the evening of April 1st and April 2nd. It's a Monday and Tuesday, and people keep saying, why are you having this on a school night? Well, it's not a school night.
It's vacation.
It's vacation, and I don't understand how they get all those people up on all those chairs without putting their heads right through the Emlyn roof, but it's a spectacular show in this size theater.
And that's it for another edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. In case you missed any portion of this news program, you can see it again.
This program is aired weekdays around 1 p.m. and again at 7 p.m. on LMC-TV, Channel 14. Not just that, during the day you can call up Studio 2 at 381-0131 and ask to see the week's news program.
The crew at LMC-TV will do their best to put the news show on a time you can see it. Remember, the number to call during the day is 381-0131, and after 4 p.m., call 698-6808 and ask LMC-TV if you can see the news show.
This program is an all-volunteer effort, and it's fun and a great give back to the community. Why not join us, drop by, and check us out almost any Thursday night in the LMC-TV studios.
We're located on Palmer Avenue on the side of the Mamaroneck High School, just up the stairs from Walter's Hot Dog Stand. We get things going around 7 p.m.
And if you have any comments or suggestions, please send them to us. Care of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, care of LMC-TV, 1 Library Lane, Mamaroneck, New York, 10543.
Thanks for watching Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norum.
And I'm Alyssha Miro. We'll see you next time.
In case you didn't notice, spring officially makes an appearance this week on Thursday, no matter what the groundhog might say.